Test. Good evening, Manhattan, New York City, the world, the universe, and beyond. My name's Kirk, and this is my spiritual, supernatural, mystical, magical TV show. We're going live out to an unlimited and infinite number of people in about 3 minutes. And here's a little mantras to get you started, headed by Sammy Hagar, who went to another band, Sammy Hagar Band, but he started out with mantras here from the 70s. I don't know exact year. And this is one of my favorite songs. You're rock candy, baby. You're hot, sweet, and sticky. Shakti. Through thick and thin. I'm either going to have to cut this out or it can't go on YouTube because they always flag you for copyright, even though, like, we're not charging any money and we're not using it for, like, they just, you know, copyright and then they put a strike on your record. Really? Like, you know, you're hot, sweet, and sticky. I remember when YouTube was like, it was a lot of fun to be on, and now it's just this big corporate, nightmarish corporate mess of mess. It's a messy mess over there at YouTube. You know, the corporate sponsors saw their videos on rather distasteful videos, and they freaked out, and everybody ended up pulling all of their ad revenue out of YouTube, and now YouTube cannot get any major sponsors to come back. And YouTube and the Google people who owns YouTube handled it really miserably and just dropped the ball about 20 different ways, and they lost most of their subscribers and viewers and people uploading stuff and all their sponsors at the same time. It's a mess. It happened about 5 years ago. Okay, but you gotta love YouTube, because I'm telling you, without this, without YouTube, you know, a lot of our show, we just show content from YouTube. What are we going to talk about tonight? Well, we are going to talk about a lot of stuff, and there's a big list, okay? And there's your list. And I'm going to introduce the list when we go live in going on 1 minute. Maybe I'll just update here for my social media real quick. This is the pre-show. It's very relaxed. We're going live, but we're going live in 30 seconds. But, you know, we got to upgrade. We got to have, you know, social media stuff. Can you see the list in the background? You're a candy, baby. You know, I mean, I try to do a serious show. I try to be kind of serious, but at the same time, it is 15 years of running, and it's called Kirk's Spiritual Television. So it's Kirk TV technically, and this is how I find out whether we're really going out live. I have to. You can watch it on your phone. You can watch Kirk TV on your phone. Yes, you can. From wherever, all over the world. We have a mirror site. See, look at this. There you go. There's the 4 channels. Oh, we're live. Hi, my name's Kirk, and this is your spiritual, supernatural, mystical, and magical TV show. And this is my total backup because one of our monitors is broken out there. So just to make double, triple sure that we're going out live right now to, like, well, see, look at this. There you go. There's the 4 channels. Oh, we're live. Hi, a show within a show within a show. Supernatural. It's always been about mind-bending reality, and you know, we do Kirk TV, which is kind of fun and ranting, and then we do spiritual television, which is kind of more serious, and then we do Kirk's Strange Universe, which is, it's a strange universe, folks. Let me tell you, this is the strangest universe I've ever been to, and you know, reality is very fragile here on planet Earth, and I think for whatever reason, we're very fragile right now at this time in 2018, and we're right on the eve of an election. So, as I was telling our viewers, who may or may not see this on YouTube, but definitely Daily Motion, you know, I'm trying to put together an idea or some kind of show or talk about divine masculinity, spiritual masculinity, as you can see, toxic man, healed man, divine man. So, you know, we're all wounded, and I forgot to put in the fight for power. Should I do that now? The fight for power? Fight for power. You got to fight for power. This, you know, planet and this reality has always been a fight for power. And fight the future, fight for power. It's a fight for power, man, without a doubt. Okay, so in line with, there we go, fight for power. In line with our topic tonight, toxic man, healed man, or divine man. Here's a list, because I was talking to my friend Daniel before the show. He lives in California. Daniel's a straight guy. He's married. He's got a kid. And I was like, hey, Daniel, I'm doing a show tonight on toxic masculinity, healthy masculinity. I'm going online. I'm trying to either write a book about masculinity. You know, a lot of my issues are about masculinity as a gay guy. And, you know, I don't know where I belong. I don't know where I fit in. And I don't really know how to be a man. Shakti. I don't think anybody does. And so I was talking to Daniel, and he gave me some book titles that he's read. And he likes the website Art of Manliness. So I think if we have time, we'll check that out. I've seen that website. I think it's pretty cool. It's a very non-toxic, you know, like here's how to be a guy, or this is a guy thing, how to give a toast at a wedding, you know, type of, for your best bud, who's the groom. Like they have a lot of etiquette things, beard tips, and just general, like, you know, for the clueless guy like me, like, I don't know this stuff. But I was talking to him, and it became obvious, and I've been pondering this. We've done a couple shows on toxic masculinity, divine masculinity, and the divine feminine, and, you know, does the soul have a gender? And the Greeks believed, and the Romans believed, that the soul was actually female, and that they believed the most powerful you could be was to have the soul as a female, which they believed everybody's soul was female, and then to be a man in a male body, gender identified in male body. So let's just fast forward on to, like, you know, 1990s to 2000. What's happened in the last 25 years? Well, a lot. So, you know, like, how do you be a man? Okay. So do I go hunting and I kill some animals? Do I join a bowling league and hang out with a bunch of guys and we bowl? Do I go to my friend's house and we watch sports? Do I join a biker club? My answer, and trying to find this thread for myself personally, you know, a man in the wilderness, maybe that'll be our closeout song, because I feel like I've been a man in the wilderness. I didn't really identify with the straight people. I didn't really identify with the gay people either, particularly, other than as a political reaction. And the people and the groups that I identify the most is not like, I want to be a guy. I do want to be a guy. I want to explore that while I'm here. I'm in a gendered guy identified body, and I like that. What am I saying? I really identified the most with the witches, because I'm a natural born, you know, I have used the term witch through the years. Natural born spiritual medium, natural born witchy guy. You know, and back in the 80s and the 90s, the term was, now, a witch is something you're born as. You're born as a spiritual, magical, supernatural person. And those are the people I identified with, but there isn't any real term. So, I just started, a friend of mine called me a witch. And some of my friends have said, Kirk, you're a witch. You're such a witch. And I don't think it was good or bad, but the vogue term now is, a witch is a woman and a warlock is a male witch. And I don't really believe that. I think that's kind of like a Hollywood movie term. I believe you're a witch. A witch is a witch is a witch. And whether you're a male witch or a female witch. And I don't think being a witch is something that you do. I think it's something you are. And I've talked about that ad nauseum on that show in the last 15 years. But this is not the witch show tonight. But the people that I identify the most with and that I gravitate and want to learn and mirror are the magical people, the supernatural, spiritual powerhouses, or a witch, a magical person. You're born like different. You really are different. And it's kind of rare, actually, but it's another show. But tonight we're going to talk about all of these things that I think contribute to this air of toxic masculinity, and I think it needs to be explored. I think the idea of gender wounding, specifically based on gender, is really a dialogue that needs to happen. I believe that I don't believe in this toxic masculinity. So where do I belong? I kind of belong with the witches. I belong with the Burning Man people. So, you got to find your tribe, because my tribe is not, even though I identify as gay, I'm not really, the gay people are not really my people. I don't feel like they're my people. Part of it is trying to find, where do I find my family, my people? The Burning Man people, the wild-ass shaman, screaming shaman, wild witch people, magical, supernatural people. But finding, trying to heal the psychic and spiritual wound and fight for your own power, and we're all fighting for power. So I was talking to Daniel, and then and all day I've been watching videos about masculinity, maleness, gender, and it became obvious. Now I'll introduce the list. Here's a list, of the topics that it all kind of is connected to, and this is the announcement from my show. Tonight we're going to talk about toxic masculinity, divine masculine, trans rights, the Me Too movement, a parentless nation, gay rights, violence with guns, terrorism, addiction and trauma, and PTSD issues, and why nearly 75% of all Americans are on some form of psych meds. There's no rest for the wicked. So I wanted to talk specifically about how do you be a guy? How do you be a healed man and not be toxic masculine? So the toxic masculine to me is, and that's why rape and the Me Too movement and violence against women, it all ties into the wounded man. You're a wounded person, you're a wounded man, and the wounded man that hates women is going to commit the act of violence against the woman, or the act of violence against a child, sexual acts against children. These are all aggressive sex acts, and they come from a person that's not healed. They come from a toxic person. But specifically tonight, we're talking about toxic men. So one of the things is, first of all, I think you can even have this dialogue, you have to talk about that in the last 25 to 30 years, most of us really grew up without parents. Now, obviously, we had birth parents somewhere, but did we really have real parenting? Parenting involves mentoring, it involves boundaries, it involves mental health in an ideal situation. And in the last 20 years, I think really America is a parentless nation. If dad wasn't off making the money and you had a traditional family intact, dad was off making the money, and by the time he got home, he was so tired, he didn't have time to like, oh, I'm going to take my son out. You know, we're not talking about an ideal world, an ideal situation. We're talking about actually what is. And so I think before you can even, why is this, Kirk? Why do we have to talk about, you know, the lack of connection to the parents? Well, because you get your gender identity, and men specifically get their identity, and they would identify and get mirroring and mentoring from the male. But the fact of the matter is, in the last almost 3 decades, the women have raised the boys. And unfortunately, they have all raised the boys to hate women. Now, you just got to swallow that and ponder it for a while, but it's actually true. If the women that raised the sons were wounded, then they're going to act out all of their stuff onto the boys, because the boys are around and they're the obvious male to act their shit out on. Then, in turn, the male son grows up and he learns to be aggressive or hatred or violent toward women, and this vicious cycle, just weird ass cycle, keeps continuing. So you've got to kind of like look at all this stuff and how they all really feed into each other. You've got gay guys, they want to get married, and then you've kind of got, the gay guys and the women are saying, we want to be married and we want a traditional gay marriage. You know what I mean? We want a traditional family. Then you've got shaman like me, and we're wild. We want to go in the desert and have weird orgies and sex, and, I don't really want a traditional family. And then you've got trans people, and they're saying we want rights, and gender's bullshit, and all of this stuff in the last 30 years is all kind of like up for grabs. You've also got fear is off the chain in ways that it really hasn't been 25 years ago. And then you've got the violence with guns, the school shootings, the terrorism, and then you've got all these Americans on psych meds. And I just think they all feed each other in a toxic way. And so the question is, how do we get healed? I was speaking with my tech guy who set me up tonight, and he was like, I was like, what do you think about this list? And he said, no, it's all the same fight. It's all the same fight. And I said, oh yeah, it's the fight for power. So I hope that, enlightens you and introduces the topic. I don't have anything definitive or specific or be a pundit and say, like, this is what it is. Right now I'm just investigating. So welcome to the Kirk Spiritual Television Show. And I'm in my 15-year programming. Identify with the witches and the shaman. I don't really practice witchcraft. Per se. I actually am clean and sober. I just passed 33 years, and if you guys can see that, brand new tat, 33 years clean and sober. I identify with the addicts, and so in this quick-toxic mix, you've got the addicts and the recovery movement, and I really believe, and I've said this on several shows, that they're gonna, if you really want to deal with addiction head on, you're gonna have to deal with trauma, addiction, and PTSD. And it's really my belief that alcoholism and addiction, which is addiction to alcoholism, alcoholism is addiction to alcohol. You're gonna have to start having a conversation about trauma and how you heal trauma. And that addiction is really like the sea, that's floating here, the obvious, but down here is a very hardcore real trauma. And those traumas are not being addressed, and nobody has really figured out a way to clear it out. Oh, by the way, let's talk about homecoming real quick, okay? I don't know if you guys... real quick, I want to talk about the brand new Amazon series Homecoming with Julia Roberts, who made her first kind of series internet debut, and it's a grand slam. Boy, she just hit it out of the park with this thing called Homecoming, and it's about these traumatized soldiers. There's the segue. It's about these traumatized soldiers, and they're trying to eliminate their trauma. Unfortunately, there's a darker side to it that, oops, you know what? There's spoilers. Oh my God, I didn't even think about saying spoilers ahead. All right, I'm sorry. I shouldn't tell you anything else about it. I didn't give away too much. So, I don't know, can we like show maybe a trailer for Homecoming? Would you guys like to see that? Or would you guys just like to stick on topic to, wounded man, healed man? I think I've said kind of like a lot that I wanted to say, and once again, I don't have any answers for you. I'm just really introducing the topic. But if you look at my history today, okay, you look down here, I was watching I typed in how to be masculine. And these are some of the stuff I got. The Way of the Superior Man by David Dita. How to Be a Man, and this guy talks about an animated book review. Then you've got Robert Glover. No More Mr. Nice Guy, Reclaim Your Masculinity. Whatever Happened to All the Real Men? So let's go over here, and we're going to type in how to be masculine, okay? Because everything starts on YouTube here on out. And this is what we get, okay? Here's how to be masculine in 7 steps. Now, I watched the first one, and it was basically about this guy's hair and his beard and trying to sell you a razor, okay? So that's that one. 5 ways to be more masculine, and here's a preview. You've kind of got this guy here, before and after. Then you've got a video here, how to be a man, the deep core of being masculine. And I think I might want to watch that one. So let's add watch later. Then you've got Make Men Masculine Again. And this is put out by Purdue University. And it's kind of like, it's very heterocentric based. We need to get back to the family, and men need to just act like men, and men need to be more masculine. And I actually do believe both of those. I really do. If I have to say something I believe, I am just asking you the question. Yeah, I believe men should be more masculine. I don't believe in feminizing men. And I don't really think women should be more like men. But see, here's the rub. Nobody really knows or can say or has written a book to clarify, like, what does that mean? What does it mean to be a man? What is a masculine man? What is a healthy man? What is a healed man? And then I have done shows about the divine masculine, and I'm going to show you in a minute that, like, there's no videos on the divine masculine. So she says, this woman that put this one out, she says men have to be more masculine. And it was kind of like you could tell it was like a Christian, thinly veiled, if I have to say it, yeah. Like, don't be a fag as a man. You got to be like macho. And that bleeds right into toxic masculinity. So that's what I was trying to say. Like, okay, I just started boxing and taking martial arts. And that is kind of like my answer right now, is to try and get in touch with my physical self in this gender-identified body and box and be mentored physically, like by my boxing coach. And so I'm trying to do that. But I'm not really I'm not going to go kill animals. I'm not going to go push some woman around and rape her. I'm not going to abuse women. So where do you lie? What do you do? I'm not really going to join a biker club. That's like Uber. Then you get into the question of alpha males. Oh, I'm going to be an alpha, or I'm going to be a beta. Because in our society, if a man just wants to be passive, it's very bad. And that feeds into the toxic masculinity as well. In straight relationships, it's like if you were passive or you wanted the woman to be the beta, she'd kind of get off on it a little bit, in my experience, but then she'd take a swipe at your balls and emasculate you. And so I don't want that either. I don't want to be emasculated by my partner or my girlfriend or my boyfriend. What do you do? And what do you do if you're a guy and you're dating a guy? Now you got two dudes in the mix and two dicks in the mix and testicles. Now what do you do? Like they used to, when they made fun of gay guys, I was like, which one's the man? Which one's the woman? They used to say that all the time. I was a bartender, and whenever straight people would see a gay couple, they go, which one's the woman? And one time I looked at the person that sat at the bar and I said, well, I hate to tell you this, but there isn't a woman, and that's the whole point of like a gay relationship. Oh, this other lady next to me, she just like howled. She just howled. She was like, yeah, there is no woman. Okay, there's no woman in that equation. So let's go back to how to be masculine on YouTube. Here is Exercise Your Masculinity. And here's one, how to become a man, how to become a lion. And here's Masculine Men, the 4 stages. And then we go to beta and alpha. This one, how to be a real masculine man. Okay, what does that mean? Do you want to be a beta or an alpha? So people are, stop caring what people think of you. So that's kind of all that. And then we go over to what? We go over to books. Books written about masculinity. Now, the graphic behind me is, it was from the spiritual warrior, Dan Millman, I think. Peaceful Warrior. If you guys can see that. There you go. The Peaceful Warrior, and then eventually it was made into a film with Nick Nolte. Now, the books specifically to read, there's no books really. Here's your book list on, here's the best books on masculinity and manhood. And, I think I'm just going to start picking these off and reading them, and actually, it's exceptional. It's an exceptionally long, interesting list. When I first got sober, everybody was reading Robert Bly, Iron John, as you can see right here. And here's one that my friend said, The Way of the Superior Man. Here's one called Manhood. Okay, so what happens if we... the books I read also, I read Robert Bly and Robert Johnson, He, She, and We. And these books are like 50 pages each, and they're very instructive, and they're about the psychological aspects of your gender. And what else did I read? Here, Joseph Campbell, Hero with a Thousand Faces, is kind of like a male-oriented, the journey of the hero. So what happens if we, I don't know, how about masculinity for gay guys? Let's see, masculinity for gay guys. Let's see what that brings. See if it brings anything. Gay men, masculinity and straight friendships, internalized homophobia as straight acting men. What gay men's attitudes to masculinity have taught me. What masculinity means if you're gay, bi, or trans. So as you can see, going back to our original list and not really having healthy parenting and bonding with the gender-identified parent, you can see how all this stuff is gone askew, and that we're all on psych meds now. Like something is wrong, and consumerism didn't fix it. And, throwing bombs on other countries, hey, something's wrong. It's not fixing it. Now we've got terrorism, school shootings, and all this nonsense. And, our last presidential campaign, we've got 2 minutes left, was, a man against a woman. And, you could say what you want, Donald Trump, blah, blah, blah. I would say that Donald Trump, I would not say that he has a healthy masculinity. I don't really think he even has his mental health, to tell you the honest truth. So that's like a whole other issue. But let's go back to the original thing. So now you start looking at all of these as vastly connected and interlocking. You know, the rape of the animals, the rape and why we, abuse the animals before we even eat them, and then we rape and abuse the planet, that all has to do with toxic masculinity. The rape of the planet, the female, the water and the earth is considered, a very yin female component, and so are animals are always considered yin female energy. Loving energy, supporting energy, and this toxic masculinity is just raping everything psychically, spiritually, metaphorically, metaphysically in its path. And it's got to burn out somewhere, and it's, a jump into the chakra, but it's not just the jump, it's the rape, it's the actual rape of your personhood even. That's how toxic it is. So how do we get to divine masculine, divine man? And let's see, what I was going to try and find was divine masculine, and then that's it for the show. We're going to have to wrap it up. So what do we got here on divine masculine? Okay, let's see, do we have anything? Guide to divine masculine, divine feminine, qualities of divine masculine, divine feminine, the awakened masculine, the divine masculine. So we do wake up the divine masculine, which is a healed part. Let's see if we have any videos. And we're going to run out of time. Shucks. We are going to continue this dialogue next week. So, my name's Kirk. Thank you for watching. Here's some stuff on YouTube for your homework. Wake up the divine masculine. So, we introduced a dialogue. Let's keep talking. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to take any phone calls. And what are we going to close out with? How about the Pusher Man? Thanks for watching, guys. That's all the time we have. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next week in the Cyber Temple of Love and Light. Shakti Namaste.
I smoked a lot of grass. Oh Lord, I popped a lot of pills. But I've never touched nothing that my spirit could kill. You know, I've seen a lot of people walking around with tombstones in their eyes. But the Pusher don't care if you live or if you die. God damn, the Pusher. God damn, hey, I say the Pusher.